6 p.m. in Kumba in the Mehmet division of the southwest region of Cameroon. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast with me, Immaculate Fogwe. Our lone major story tonight: Cameroon's longest-serving speaker at the National Assembly, Cavay Djibril, dies at the age of 86, marking a tragic moment for the nation's legislature. Just hours later, another loss was confirmed as Theodore Alexandre Mbe Esai Mendomo, Member of Parliament for Njum and the head of the Economic Affairs Committee, also passed after an illness. We'll be giving you updates on what happened and who these personalities were in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. Stay with us. Once more, thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe Television. We are broadcasting live from our economy headquarters right in Akwa Douala. The Social Affairs Unit in Buda in the west region of Cameroon has taken over the follow-up of a one-week-old baby boy who was abandoned by his mother at a health center in Bamisinge neighborhood. According to the medical officer in charge, Dr. Yemeli Zhang, the mother who brought the child lied that he was sick. And residents of Bamisinge neighborhood say the girl who abandoned the child is about 20 years old. Smart Gabriel has the details.
Just 1 week after he was brought to planet Earth, his mother decides to abandon him at the Hope Health Center in Bamisinge, a neighborhood in Buda. She came here at about 7 p.m. with a newborn of about a week old. When she came, she told us the child was sick, of which she was telling lies. She dropped the child and said she was going to look for the doctor, but as she left, she didn't come back. Noticing her absence, the doctor who received the child will get new dresses to change the newborn baby before informing the authorities. We have placed a complaint at the Gendarmerie Brigade of Mbuda, and they came down and took pictures of the baby for investigations to begin. I also went to the Social Affairs Department, and after visiting, they took away the baby. One of the inhabitants who saw when the lady was coming to the hospital told us the car came from the Babaju end of the road and dropped her directly where I'm standing. After paying her transport, she took this back door and went into the hospital. But minutes later, she ran out and stood in front of my brother, and when she was asked what's the problem, she said she was looking for a car. According to him, the mother of the child is not up to 20 years. She's in between 18 and 19 years old. She was dressed with a gown, black pullover, black hair tie. With investigations already opened by the security forces in Buda, officials of the Social Affairs Department are calling on the inhabitants of Bamisinge to collaborate with the forces of law and order to get the young girl who abandoned her baby and escaped.
Motorcycle riders in Loum in the Mungo division of the Littoral region have taken to the streets to protest against what they qualify as abusive operation and arbitrary arrest in that part of the country. They claim that unidentified individuals, allegedly backed by police officers, regularly confiscate their motorcycles and equally transport them to Loum Public Security Police Station. We have details with Seri Chakutio.
The city of Loum has been experiencing unrest for several days, marked by strong protest from commercial bike riders. At the heart of the controversy is an operation to seize and impound bike riders perceived by a portion of those in the sector as an arbitrary, even abusive measure. According to these commercial bike riders,
nous nous retrouvons à la mairie tout juste parce que il y a des individus qui sortent pour nous arrêter d'aborder les choisibles. Et ces choisibles appartiennent à des associations.
Their bikes are regularly seized by individuals with the support of police officers and then taken to the Loum Public Security Police Station.
Qui sont des présidents des associations descendent dans la rue et nous arrêter pour aller mettre nos motos au commissariat en fourrière.
The drivers denounce these practices which they consider illegal, including the requirement to wear identified jackets, pay loading camp fees, and present administrative documents under threat of the seizure of their bikes.
Parce qu'ils n'ont pas ce droit, parce qu'ils ne portent pas les choisibles, car les choisibles dépendent des mairies de la ville. Et ils ont fait tête.
When questioned about this crisis, the mayor of Loum expressed his incomprehension regarding an operation he claims he was never informed of.
Nous sommes surpris aujourd'hui que vous nous dites qu'on nous arrête pour les choisir. Nous ne nous reconnaissons pas dans ces différents choisis.
He maintained that the management of the motor taxi sector falls exclusively under municipal jurisdiction in accordance with the Prime Minister's decree of December 31st, 2008, which sets out the regulations for operating.
Alors, qui va donc ces choisir? Donc pour moi, voilà autant d'éléments. Le sous-préfet doit nous dire de quoi il est question.
Citing Articles 12, Paragraph 1 and 2 and Article 13, Paragraph 3 of the law, the mayor reiterates that the allocation of identification numbers and jackets falls under the municipality's responsibility.
La compétence est dévolue exclusivement aux communes.
He thus denounces this as a clear violation of the laws of the Republic and accuses certain individuals with the blessing of the administrative authority of having exceeded their powers.
On les interpelle, quelqu'un d'autre leur vend les choisibles à 10 000 et ils vont, comme ils l'ont dit, déposer 25 000 francs, que ce soit au commissariat ou à la sous-préfecture.
The commercial motor taxi drivers' anger is not subsiding and could escalate if no solution is found. To them, a return to dialogue between the different parties appears essential.
And Cameroon's new electricity company now has a new leadership firmly in place. And just day after President Paul Biya created Socadel to replace Enyo, the Minister of Water and Energy installed his first leadership team in Yaoundé. He gave them a deadline of 100 days to take concrete action to solve Cameroon's energy crisis. They include top officials from Sonatrol, the presidency, Prime Minister's office, and equally EDC directors. Fomi Armstrong Sanda has more on that.
At the helm of Socadel as board chair is Antoine Tsimi, a former finance minister in Cameroon who announced the CFA francs devaluation in 1994. The Chicago Boots MBA and ex-CEMAC president now vows, "We have no rights to make mistakes. Cameroonians want quality service." Running daily operations in the enterprise as Director General is Umaru Amajoda, a hydroelectric energy engineer with a PhD from Russia. He brings in some 35 years of experience from the presidency's energy unit to Enyo's deputy CEO post and several others. He also teaches at the Yaoundé's National School of Engineering. His deputy, Jean-Basile Ekopena, is a veteran in the trio as well. With some 32 years at Sonel and Enyo, he is expected to drive electricity access and internal reforms. Regarding board members, the 8 members of the board include top officials from the presidency, the Prime Minister's office, and key ministries in Cameroon. Sonatrol and EDC directors too have seats in the board of directors. But the task for the new team is huge. Socadel inherits some 800 billion CFA francs in debt from the former. The state owns some 95% and targets some 3,000 megawatts by 2030 to reach 8 million more Cameroonians on the national electricity grid. While installing them in Yaoundé, Cameroon's Minister of Water and Energy, Gaston Elundo Esomba, ordered a total break from the past practices for the team led by Antoine Tsimi.
From Armstrong Sanda reporting that in the same vein, the recent transformation of Cameroon's main electricity provider marks a significant shift in the country's energy governance. On May 4, 2026, President Paul Biya signed a series of decrees converting Enyo into the Cameroon Electricity Company, Socadel, a new state-owned enterprise tasked with managing the nation's power sector. However, the subsequent appointments to Socadel's leadership have sparked debate over inclusiveness, representation, and regional balance with the new institution and other state borders. Babila Jonathan has more on that.
On May 4, 2026, President Paul Biya signed a series of decrees to officially transform the energy company Eneo into the Cameroon Electricity Company, better known by its French language acronym Socadel, a new state-owned corporation. Following these, a new board of directors was appointed to lead the company. The appointment of company officials has raised questions about the place of women youths who are not represented in the new institution's leadership.
Mr. Bobia said it's a mandate for the young people and women. Now look at it, the mandate began in 2025 and we had an election, to the regional elections in 2025. Did we see any woman in that election? No woman emerged as a regional council president, none. Looking at the National Assembly, where we had some people who were swapped in from one place to another, so that of the National Assembly or of the Senate, or the President of the Senate, none of them is below 60 years old. Now we have Sokadel, which has been talked about. Sokadel, look at, from the President, the board President is 72 and plus. Director General is more than 60 years. Assistant Director General is even somebody who was called back from retirement to come and take position, Mr. Babila. What type of mandate are we talking about? We say the mandate for young people. Is this, all these appointments, you still don't find one woman in it? Don't need young people.
Within the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, CPDM and government circles, collaborators of the head of state who were charged with the responsibility of making proposals to the president are blamed.
I am very surprised that want to blame only the head of state. Meanwhile, the board members are made up of structures in Cameroon managed by Cameroonians. None of those structures have seen the name of a woman or a young person to be appointed to the board. Why? Why? Why should we allow everything in this country to be managed by the head of state alone? Meanwhile, all of us have a joint responsibility. I'd like to start from the base. Okay, the president says, okay, Minister of Energy, send a name of a representative. Prime Ministry, send a name of a representative. EDC, Sonatrel, and the rest. Because all the board members are members of these structures that I've just named. Why haven't they sent the names of the youths or the women? Remember, the position of the head of state was clear when he said this mandate is meant for youths and the women. It means we men are the macho. We're the ones spoiling this country and want to blame it on one person.
Another problem emanating from the appointment of officials of Sokadel is the marginalization of Cameroonians from the northwest and southwest regions, except.
But what hurts me more is not even that. It's the fact that those who hail from the northwest and southwest regions were not even considered. Does that mean they have no right to manage such a structure in Cameroon?
Barrister Archie Julius therefore hopes that such errors will be corrected going forward.
And over to our lead story, the death of Cavay Djibril marks the end of a long and important era in Cameroon's parliament. For over 30 years, he led the National Assembly with unmatched influence. A close ally of the presidency and traditional Lamido, he played a key role in linking the Far North region to the central government from 1992 until his death. Law Maneru right now tells us more about the parcours of the former speaker at the National Assembly.
He wasn't just a speaker, he was a monument. Since 1992, Cavay Djibril ruled the glass house of Waikele with an authority that few dared to challenge. Born in 1940 in the Far North region, Cavay began his career as a physical educational teacher before answering the call of a public service. The traditional leader, the Lamido of Mada, he bridged the gap between ancestral heritage and modern governance. First elected to the National Assembly in 1973, he rose through the rank of the CPDM party, eventually seizing the gavel as a speaker in 1992. For 32 years, he remained the third personality of the state, a loyal ally to President Paul Biya. His tenure was defined by stability and a firm hand. Cavay presided over the transition to a multi-party system, navigating turbulent legislative waters with a mix of wit and authority. To his supporters, he was a great comrade who ensured the unity of the Far North with the central government. To his critics, he was a symbol of political longevity, holding his seat through decades of changing global landscape. In his final years, despite declining health, his influence remained. He advocated the fight against Boko Haram in his home region and mentored a generation of northern elites. He stayed at the helm of the house until his final days, embodying a life entirely dedicated to the institution of parliament. Cavay Yeguie Djibril leaves behind a complex, storied legacy, a man who was quite literally the heartbeat of Cameroon's legislative history.
And may his gentle soul rest in peace. Now we talk something else. Across Douala, and particularly in the Douala 4 subdivision, the high cost of health care and the burden of silent diseases continues to keep many residents in the dark about their health status. That silence was broken at the Bonasama District Hospital, where hundreds turned out from May 4th to the 6th for a free screening campaign, seizing a vital opportunity. Beneficiaries welcomed the initiative as a timely relief for the financial barriers to accessing specialist care. More with Innocent Aze.
Silent illnesses, late diagnoses, and the high cost of medical care continue to weigh heavily on many families in Douala, forcing some to delay or even forgo essential check-ups. It is against this backdrop that hundreds of residents of Douala 4 municipality converged on the Bonasama District Hospital from May 4th to the 6th for a free medical screening campaign organized under the patronage of the Douala 4 Council Mayor.
I came this morning to see the rheumatologist. It is helping us because when you know your status, you can go for treatment and you live longer and help the nation.
Nous remercions beaucoup le maire, le sous-préfet.
They described the campaign as timely and essential given the economic difficulties that often keep them away from hospitals.
Beaucoup n'aiment pas venir trop à l'hôpital parce qu'ils se disent qu'ils n'ont pas assez de moyens pour se soigner.
Le plus souvent, quand on veut se déplacer.
Consultation fees and repeated specialist visits are often a heavy burden.
Et parfois même pour rencontrer le spécialiste, il faut des rendez-vous et des rendez-vous.
While expressing appreciation, residents are calling for such initiatives to be made regular.
Si l'hôpital peut faire ça de temps en temps, ça va encourager les malades à ne pas rester à la maison.
You may be physically healthy, but internally you are sick. So when you come, they consult you, they prescribe treatment. It means that they've seen something that is in you.
Some also appealed for further reductions in treatment costs to ease the burden on low-income families.
Réduire un peu le prix en baisse, puisque la pauvreté est là.
Should not shout about the cost of payment. If it happens that I'm diagnosed of an illness and there's a way for treatment or to cure me, I'll instead be happy rather than thinking of the cost.
Health officials, including the hospital director and the Litowa regional delegate for public health, emphasized the importance of routine screening, reaffirming that good health is key to a productive population.
Si les examens les prix seront revus à la baisse, je crois que l'occasion est là pour que les populations, comme par le passé, continuent de nous faire confiance.
On his part, the mayor of Douala 4 reiterated that
la santé est le premier droit de l'homme.
The health and living standards of the population remain a top municipal priority, pledging continued support for initiatives that bring health care closer to the people.
Et en tant que maire, je suis porteur des aspirations du développement de notre commune.
I am a urologist and former director of this hospital, so the health of all remains my priority.
Mon cœur de chirurgien, urologue, et mon cœur d'ancien directeur de cet hôpital.
As the exercise ends, the call is growing louder. Sustained free screening campaigns could be the lifeline many need to move from late diagnosis to timely care and from vulnerability to healthier living.
And don't forget, health is wealth. And that's it for this first part of the news. Talking Point comes up next. Xenophobic violence has once again erupted in South Africa, with major parts such as Durban, that is the coastal city of Durban, greatly affected by the situation. But what's happening on the ground? On the line, we have a South African who goes by the name Bonfire KHUMALO. Good evening. It's a pleasure to have you on Talking Point tonight, and equally welcome to Cameroon.
Thank you for having me, even though it's not really a pleasant interview or conversation that we're going to be having with everything that's been happening in South Africa for the past couple of months. But thank you and greetings to everyone in Cameroon.
What's happening on the ground? but want to get from someone who is currently in South Africa. Bonfire, can you explain to us what's currently happening on the ground in Durban and equally other affected areas of South Africa?
I'd say that with the current situation that we are having, which is xenophobic attacks against other African nationals that are perceived as foreigners in this country, it's not really good, because a lot of people are losing out on business. A lot of people are losing their lives. In Joburg last week, there were 2 Somalian men that were gunned down. They were killed. And it's just not something that is pleasant. I mean, it's not only going to be affecting South Africa in the long run, but also the economy as well. It's not going to be really conducive for South Africans or non-South Africans to still run their businesses with everything that's going on.
Can you explicitly explain to us, what do you think is driving these xenophobic sentiments among some South Africans?
And honestly, I honestly feel that this is just directed to the wrong audience, because there is a deeper issue here. Like, it's deeper, that people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to have an open discussion and say it out loud that our foreign nationals, they often become scapegoats, if I may put it, for bigger problems that we are facing in South Africa, which are lack of jobs, big service delivery, and poor governance. So it's easier to point at outsiders than to actually fix the structural issue, which are much harder and slow to solve. So it's really bad.
And as an African, and precisely a South African, how do you feel about the way other African nationals are being treated in your home country?
I feel bad, because I have a brother that's in Cameroon, that he works there, you know. He works there, and for me it's very frightening that if something like this is happening in South Africa and we're chasing our black brothers and sisters away, what is going to happen to my family that is in Cameroon? What's going to happen to the business